Hi folks, my name is John Arrison. I'm running for the Cavendish Weathersfield House of Representatives seat, which is called W2. A little bit about myself. I was born in Chester and brought up in Chester. I attended one of the last classes to graduate from Chester High School before it became Green Mountain. I served on the Board of Civil Authority in Chester. I spent 10 years on the Chester Fire Department, and I moved to Weathersfield in 1986. And I've happily met my wife while living in Weathersfield, and she's also a native Vermonter. After I moved to Weathersfield, I started a small electrical contracting firm, Watsup Electric. I've been in business since 1986. So I've been a small businessman for all those years. I've served 16 years on the Weathersfield Select Board. I served on the Weathersfield Zoning Board of Adjustment. I spent 20 years on the Ascutney Fire Department, which is part of Weathersfield. And I served on the SAPA, Springfield Area Public Access Board of Directors. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Okemo Valley Public Access for the opportunity to communicate a little bit of my views with you folks. My history of public service is uninterrupted since my early 20s. I've always tried to serve the community. I've served continuously. I've been very conscientious about listening to my constituents. I can't say that I always agree with anybody, but any politician that tells you that they do is probably not being honest. I know what it's like to struggle through 3 recessions. I know what it's like to pay for employees' health care insurance. I currently pay 100% of my employees' health care insurance, which has become a tremendous burden. And I'll talk about that a little bit in a few minutes. One thing I'm very proud of is that while serving on the Weathersfield Select Board, money is always an issue, even when times were a little better than they are right now, because we're in a very tough situation. We've always treated the taxpayers' money like it's our money, because it is our money. Anybody that lives in the town also pays taxes. In all the 16 years serving on the Weathersfield Select Board, overall, the Weathersfield municipal tax rate has not increased more than the rate of inflation. I wish the school could say that, but due to circumstances, some of them in their control and some of it out of their control, the school tax rate has really risen well above the level of inflation. So I know what it's like for a lot of you folks out there that are having a tough time during this incredibly tough time with the pandemic. A few of my positions, a buzzword recently has been defunding police. And I don't feel that is a realistic, especially in Vermont, is not even remotely realistic. Our police forces are sparse, and especially communities like Cavendish that relies primarily on the state police. State police don't even have a person on during the wee hours of the night. If there's a call, they have to call somebody out. So defunding police in Vermont is not a viable option. But I think more important than that is the way that the police are trained with people that are having psychological events. Recently, the legislature did appropriate money for what they're calling embedded people that have extensive training, deal with people that are having issues psychologically. And I think more important than that is that the police receive extensive training on recognizing the problem and dealing with it. They're really, most situations, if there isn't an imminent public threat, the police need to have the training to be able to back off, wait for the person that can deal with the person having an issue, or the police themselves need to have better training so that they can deal with it themselves. Time is 99% of the time is on the police side. Protect the public and take your time. We're both rural towns, and one of the biggest burdens is education, and trying to balance our town budgets. The current session that's coming up will begin in January when the new legislature is seated. It is going to be money. Unlike the federal government, the state government has to balance their budget. Municipals have to balance their budget. If they go into debt in a year, it has to be made up the following year. It's not like we can't print money like the federal government does. Vermont has in this particular session, which has ended, has been able to balance the budget with federal money. There's absolutely no guarantee, and certainly some significant apprehension that funding isn't going to continue. And so I think the current session is going to be extremely focused on being efficient and continuing to save money in any way they can. And my own personal experience with dealing with the state and some of the things, I think there is a lot of area of where efficiency could be improved. And I'll give you a quick example. There's a state bridge project fund, and the towns can apply. Weathersfield did, and it was almost 12 years before our project was funded. And I went to the final inspection when the state project was over, and I remember all the orange trucks were there, and anyway, I was representing the town for the project, and I was standing next to the contractor, and several of the state guys were patting themselves on the back, saying they thought it was pretty good bang for the buck. And the contractor and I looked at each other and just shook our head, because we know very well that with more efficiency, the project could have been done for considerably less. We had a project on Army Corps of Engineers where some guardrails were in dilapidated condition that were actually on Corps property but belonged to the town of Weathersfield. And we tried to get a grant through for a project that we thought should have come in to about $70,000. By the time the federal government got involved and the state government got involved, because there was funding for both positions, the project came in at $350,000. And we just have to be able to do things in a more cost-efficient way. Another area that I think is very important and is healthcare. Once again, being an employer and providing insurance not only for my family but for my employees, I've watched double-digit increases in healthcare premiums. I've watched it at my company's level, and I've watched it at the municipal level. And when you could buy health insurance for a couple $1,000s a year, double digits didn't amount to quite as much. I can tell you for a fact right now, my employees that are out in the field, I have to pay $10.12 an hour for their health care insurance, whether they're on vacation, at times 2,200 working hours a year. And you cannot have double-digit inflation or increases in health care premiums. It's becoming unsustainable. Right now, the Affordable Care Act is under attack. It's gotten more people into the pool, and these people have to remain in the pool. You have to have a system where pre-existing conditions are allowed. My position is that the only solution to health care is single payer. That some people disagree with that and think that socialized medicine isn't the answer. And my response is, if it's so horrible, why does it work so well in other countries? We have the opportunity to pick and choose all the best systems, pick the best things out of those systems, put together a package, and make it work. The problem at the state level is that Vermont is a really small state. I met with some people last week who said, well, it's a perfect laboratory to make it work. Well, as with so many things, money is what makes things work. And Vermont is so small that it makes it very difficult to use that as an experiment. We could do it with some help, but I'm not sure that we could make it work with the federal government. A few years back, Vermont did a study, and we were headed in that direction. It was during the Shumlin administration. We spent, I'm not sure I'm going to get this quite right, but I think it was around $300,000 doing a study. And basically it came back that we can't afford it. So Green Mountain Healthcare was instituted, and you have to get everybody into the pool, which Vermont has done a really pretty good job at, and you have to keep people involved. Everybody has to be in the pool together and share the cost. One thing, Vermont's demographics are trending older. Older people require, as a general rule, more health care. So expenses have been going up. Some of the procedures that weren't even thought of 20, 30 years ago are now routine. So, and everything in healthcare is expensive. I think we can improve our healthcare system once again with efficiencies. And one thing it doesn't make, that's very inefficient with our healthcare system, is the private insurance companies. I remember years ago we were working at Mount Ascutney Hospital, which is a small rural hospital, and I was talking with the director, and he pointed to one of the offices, and I think there were 6 people working in there, and he goes, all those people are shuffling paperwork. Shuffling paperwork doesn't help people get better. So if we go to a single payer system, I think we can cut out a lot of the overhead and come up with a system that's considerably more efficient. If you have the opportunity, talk to anybody from Europe, from Canada, and these people are not unhappy with the system they have. I know when I'm talking with one Canadian citizen, he said the only thing that's a little bit cumbersome in Canada is that if you have a doctor's appointment, it takes priority over everything. You go, you don't blow them off. You absolutely have to be there. It doesn't matter what's going on. And I don't consider that a major inconvenience. Act 46, the school consolidation is been a very tumultuous event in Vermont. Right here in this studio, we're just a few feet away from Black River High School that's closed. I'm not a 100% fan of Act 46. I think it's fallen a little bit, quite a bit short of its goals of saving money with efficiency. It needs some work. Act 250, in the last legislature, there was an effort to bring it up to date, if you will. It's an old bill, 25, 30 years old, and all bills anything that becomes that old becomes a little bit stale. I think it could be made more efficient. I think it needs to be more user-friendly, if you will. I think it still needs to accomplish its goals of controlled development in Vermont, because one of Vermont's major selling point is the quality of life. We're finding right now with the pandemic that people that are trying to get out of the urban or the large population areas, New York City and et cetera, so I think the demographics of Vermont are going to be changing in the coming years, and I think we need to take advantage of the fact that it appears that we're going to have some younger families that want to move to Vermont, and we need to create the opportunities for them. if I go to the legislature, my goal is to be on the technology committee. The future of Vermont, and we found this out, and I'm sure many of you have also, that high-speed internet is required in houses to be. We're finding properties in Weathersfield that don't have high-speed internet, and the people are having trouble selling them because high-speed internet is just the path to the future and the path to a viable economy. To wrap things up, November 3rd is coming up really soon. If you haven't already mailed your ballot in, please do so. Actually, tomorrow is the last day that it's recommended that if you're going to mail them in, that they get mailed. The 20, what's tomorrow? Anyway, Saturday. Just in case it's delayed at the post office. If you don't get it in, I suggest that you take it to the town offices in Cavendish or Weathersfield. I know Weathersfield has a drop box outside, so you can drop them off 24 hours a day if you want. And even if you don't get it dropped off, there's several different ways to vote in person. You can take your ballot that was mailed to you in and use it at the polls, or you can sign an affidavit that you haven't done anything with that ballot and receive a new one, and that'll give you your opportunity to vote. But I urge all of you, last major election in 16, the voting population was 62%. So there's 38% of you out there that are on the checklist of these towns that don't vote. That your future, the future of our communities, the future of the state, the future of our country relies on you voting. Thank you very much.